Welcome to Between Two Speakers. I'm Randy Ford, a writer and storytelling strategist at First Story Strategies.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianna Swallow, and I'm a professional communications coach and public speaking coach. And today, Randy and I are here to do our annual look back. It's our 2024 wins and sins in the year in speaking. Today, we're going to share some of the things we observed in speaking this year and also some of the things we did right and maybe not so right. So, Randy, if it's okay with you, I want to share a window and show the audience a cool thing
Yeah.
I came up with that I think is really helpful for bios because you and I are
Right.
passionate about speaker bios. And
Yes.
I created a cool little thing this year. You want to see it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Now, when I say cool, this isn't like, Bradley Cooper hanging out and having champagne with you, but can you see my screen there?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so first of all, if any of you have not seen it before, Randy and I have done a between two speakers specifically about a speaker's bio. Randy and I do not like people who basically turn in their resume as their bio. And what I came up with this year was a printable bio for my clients. This is downloadable from my website. It's about 100 words long. That is the perfect length. So I've got all this information in here. But Randy, what I noticed anytime I would print my bio and hand it to someone, and I would mention my MFA from Goucher College, even if I would tell them verbally, my MFA is from Goucher College, endlessly, no matter what I told them or didn't tell them, the person introducing me would take the
Yeah,
piece of paper and then at bio time, read it out loud and say, she's a graduate of Goucher, Gaucher,
yeah.
Goucher. And what I did was I added a pronunciation guide at the bottom. And I think it's really
Smart.
helpful not just to pronounce it or give them a phonetical pronunciation, but rhymes with voucher. And I haven't had any problems since I added that. And I also verbally tell them I went to Goucher, rhymes with voucher. So that was something really cool that actually was quite a time saver. And we didn't have to have this back and forth at the front of the stage. Like, what, how do I pronounce this? So
Right.
that
And
was
yeah,
a win this year.
it gives them that comfort too, because when they're up there, they're a little bit nervous maybe, and they don't want to have to stumble over anything or not know what they're talking about. So I like it.
Yeah, thanks. So tell us what you've seen this year.
What I'll say one big win, especially for people like me who love this kind of thing, is election season. I don't mean election results necessarily, but election season where we have, all of the political speeches, all of the political theater. There's just so much to watch and take in and like and not like. And then what comes after that, the SNL and other programming, SNL
Yeah.
once they finally brought Dana Carvey in to play Biden when finally somebody was capturing all of the little Biden speech things that are there, and Dana Carvey embodies those so well. If you haven't watched those, I would recommend everybody go and watch Dana Carvey as Joe Biden. So I just couldn't get enough of election season speeches.
So it was a treasure trove for you this year
Oh yeah.
of
Oh
content
yeah.
and stuff for you to enjoy. For those of you who don't know, Randy loves political seasons like this, and I
Yeah.
have to say, as a speaker, it was fun for me to watch as well. And some of the speeches, I simply enjoyed the spectacle of them. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
from both conventions. And speaking of the DNC in our hometown, I saw quite a few wins with that. And one that I got to pick out, as I said, I love the spectacle. And I know he's kind of cliche and overdone, but man, I love watching Bernie Sanders. And you were talking about you love seeing Dana Carvey get all of Joe Biden's stuff down. Personally, I love when Larry David does Bernie Sanders on SNL,
Yeah.
and you know that they're like distant cousins, right? They're actually related to each
Yeah,
other.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
forgot that.
it's even funnier, but Bernie Sanders is such an icon at this point that to watch him is a joy, and he's very fiery and passionate. And when I ask my clients, what do you want to see in a speaker? 201, they all say passionate. If the person doesn't care about what they're speaking about, I don't want to see it. And with Bernie, you're always going to get the passion. So I really, really love that. And another win I saw was immediately following Bernie Sanders, JB Pritzker. Bernie's speech was very fiery and passionate, but also broad. There weren't a lot of specifics. But I will say he was kind of a perfect amalgam of a motivated sequence speech along with a future vision mixed with a motivational speech. So he was enjoyable to watch, but there weren't a lot of specifics. One thing I liked about JB Pritzker, who followed him right away, number one, he's our governor. So again, got to watch him. But number two, he met the audience where they're at. He put in a lot of Illinois and Chicago references. So meeting them where they're at kind of literally, but he
Literally.
knew who he was, right, literally, but he knew who he was speaking to. And he knew that the crowd was going to identify with like the Chicago Bulls, Land of Lincoln, all that good stuff. And he did give specifics in his speech. So that's what I really liked.
Yeah. I will say, you bring up him following. I would say a sin from the DNC was, and maybe an unavoidable one, but it was the scheduling. It was so packed, full of mostly great speeches and some
Hmm.
others. We don't have time to get into all of the wins and sins, but the fact that you had Bernie Sanders, this anti corporate, populist out there, and then the
Yeah.
immediately next speech was Governor Pritzker, who made a jab at Donald Trump's wealth by referring to himself as a real billionaire, and it
Yeah.
was funny in the moment, but it did just kind of highlight the weird nature of this convention. And I think, I don't know this for sure, but my
Mhm.
suspicion is that was, when I say unavoidable, it's because the convention changed so quickly once
Yeah.
once the race changed, the presidential race. So you suddenly had to pack in a lot of speakers who were already committed, and you had to make it about three different people because then once Tim Walz was on the ticket, had to add content about him. And so I think it just got full, and
Hmm.
but what it turned out to be, I think, was a little bit of a sin.
Yeah, I agree. It was very packed, schedule wise. And you and I have talked about this before that, first of all, just going back to your original comment about Pritzker following Bernie Sanders, I always encourage my speakers, especially if they're part of an event or at something like a conference or convention, look at the schedule and ask the organizer, I want the run of the day's events. Who's before me? Who's after me?
Yeah.
Because if someone's giving a tribute to your recently deceased CEO, you don't want to follow that person with a comedy routine.
Yeah.
And you need to pay attention to the tone or how things can read. And I think maybe, I mean, for all I know, the organizers probably didn't expect JB Pritzker to say, take it from an actual billionaire. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's probably not one who should follow the other, in my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good rule to ask what is happening, what are they going to talk about, and
Hmm.
how do I fit into the bigger picture? It's not just about my 20-minute presentation. How does that
Hmm.
fit into the day? Even down to, is at what time of day is this going to happen? Are people going to be awake yet? Or are they going to be starting to fall asleep? Those kinds of things are important to know.
Yes, yes, and you're so right. The I recently had a speaking engagement where I was the last speaker of a conference, so I knew that we had to have activities and a lot of engagement so that they weren't, falling asleep. Because let's face it, all of us have attended conventions and conferences, and the last hour of the last day, you just want to like, chill, have a drink, get on the plane, go home, go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you said earlier that you have done everything right this year. Do you have any personal? I don't think you said you've done everything right. You said you've done a lot of things right this year, which I know to be true. Do you have any personal things you wish had gone differently?
Uh, yes, ish. And actually, I will confess, I have a sin to share, but I've been hanging on to this for 2 years because we didn't do a wins and sins in 2023. I will show you this and then I will explain what it is. So, many of you have heard me talk about how when I'm leading a workshop, give people something to fidget with, something to write with. And this is from, I don't know, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was leading a virtual workshop for one of my clients. And I said, oh, don't worry, I will ship you the goodie bags and all the stuff for the workshop. So I made these little bags for my client. And I noticed, Randy, you're kind of squinting because it's hard to see because there's like a dusting of powder in here. Well, what was in here was some pipe cleaners to fidget with, a branded pen, and then at the time, I don't know what my deal was, but these green things in here, these are ginger candies, and the containers or the wrappers they come in, they're folded wrappers, and they're also coated with a thin powder because ginger candy will stick to the wrapper. Well, sure enough, as they shipped, this is what happened to the bags. And the candy, the powder on the candy basically leaked all over it, got powder all over the pen, powder all over the other goodies I gave them. I was able to catch this because the post office had some kind of screw up and couldn't deliver my package. So when this came back to me, I went, oh, well, I'm not sending that to my client. And then I realized,
No.
putting candy in a bag with a bunch of other things is kind of stupid. Not to be mean to myself, but it wasn't my best idea. And then I also realized that certain candy ships differently than others. But I like, I'm going to share the question you asked me as we were prepping this call today. Like you said, well, why were you including those ginger candies? These are really good after you've been talking for a long time or sitting in a workshop all day and your mouth is kind of, doesn't feel great. But I shouldn't have been so married to this. And honestly, I don't even ship candy to my clients anymore because I learned that lesson the hard way. So,
Well, you have to tell us. You can redeem yourself if you actually tell us what that candy is. Like, how do we get it? You're giving it such a
oh, how do
glowing.
you get this candy? It's
Yeah.
it's called it's just called Ginger Chews. It's by a company named Ginger People, and World Market sells these. Sometimes Trader Joe's
Okay.
does. There's another brand called Chimes that you can get usually at Target or at the Mers Apothecary in Chicago. So
Okay.
yeah, it is really good. It's really good. I recommend it after a long talk, but don't ship it to anybody. It's probably not the best idea.
Yeah, there may be some people watching who do not realize how at one point receiving a baggie of white powder in the mail would shut down a whole city block. And if you don't know about that, just Wikipedia the year 2001 and you will see it in there. Um, so that's I'm glad you caught that. That was almost a win for the Postal Service.
It was a win for the Postal Service, and I was so glad. I mean, at first, when I saw that the package was coming back to me, I called my client and said, I'm sorry, the goodies won't be there in time. And I apologized profusely, but I think the Postal Service saved my butt on that one. So
Yeah, they did.
kudos, US Postal Service.
For not being able to deliver something. The I want to talk about kind of a pair of sins wins, and the sin I've talked about before on
Hmm.
here on a previous video, and that was a time one of my biggest public speaking flops when I was the speaker at a young professionals networking thing, and I was a little nervous because the AV setup was not what I was
Hmm.
expecting. I had asked about it and I got some wrong information. So as I was starting, the AV was already messing up. I got nervous. I started to sweat. I'm a sweater, and it did not help that I was about arm's length away from the buffet, which was a tachos bar, so nachos but with tater tots. So there were two big pans of tater tots under heat lamps with all the fixins, including a nacho cheese fountain. And it did not help the sweating. And I just sweated through the entire moment. And the only thing anybody got out of that experience, including me, was, oh my God, that guy is so sweaty. It was horrible. It was horrible. And then so my win for this year is that I finally conquered that place. I had a speaking opportunity there just a few weeks ago, and I got through it without any excessive perspiration, and I felt like I had redeemed myself from several years ago.
No tacho fountain taking you down this time.
No, exactly. And I was ready. If there was a tacho fountain, I had steeled myself to be ready for it. But
I love
yeah.
it.
And just in general, a nacho cheese fountain is not my favorite thing, but definitely not after that.
Oh, absolutely.
But
And
no more, not holding it against anymore because I have conquered it, like I said.
you have conquered it, and no nacho cheese, no. Well, I can't say this. No nacho cheese will get between you and your audience.
Exactly. Exactly.
And for those of you watching who are like, what is Randy talking about? This was one of our very first Between Two Speakers episodes. I will put a link to it down in the comments or on the page that you're on so that you can see the original talk where Randy tells you all about the tacho bar and how it sabotaged his speech.
Yes. Yes.
All
Uh,
right. Well,
I
Randy,
still love
before
tater tots though, but
oh, who doesn't? I mean, you're
yeah,
not human if you don't.
yeah, that's
Personal
true.
opinion. What are you looking
Yeah.
forward to in 2025, speaking wise, if anything? Anything you're looking forward to?
I'm gonna be part of a few conferences where are taking a different approach to how we handle some speakers and stuff, which I'm
Excellent.
really excited about. Yeah. What about you?
Similar, I am doing some programs for my clients. I started offering quarterly workshops, so a few clients have signed up for that. But then also my group coaching took off this year, so we're going to have some group coaching sessions going on. So anyone's interested, shoot me a note and I'll tell you more about our group coaching. But yeah, it's going to be another fun year of speaking.
Nice. And then I hope we'll get a chance to talk about it here next year.
I hope so too. Have a
Sweet.
great end of your year, Randy.
Yeah, you too, and everybody out there. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Bye bye.